wish you the same, sir. Happy New Year. And it is actually, feels good to have you back with us at the Fola News Network in-house. This is a brand new year. I want to thank you for giving us another opportunity to have you on a special interview section. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine, thank you very much.
Okay, it's been a while, and what do you have to say? This is a brand new year, sir.
Basically, I just want to wish everybody a happy and prosperous new year. I wish everybody peace, and I hope this year will be very fruitful for everybody. And at the end of the year, none of us will be found amiss. Just wish everybody all the best in the new year.
The last time we met with you, we had a session with you. I think it was at the beginning stage of the present administration we have today, which is the administration of President Fola. And with the way it started then, with the fuel subsidy that came up then. Looking at then that margin and now, what can you say has been, what has the system been like in terms of transportation in Nigeria and also with your sector?
Well, with regards to transportation, it's been improving, and I know the federal government is in the process of acquiring buses, and they are also working on refining our oil so that they can bring the price of petrol down. The refinery, the Dangote refinery, should start operating soon, and the other refinery is also supposed to be coming on stream. So there's so many things, exciting things that they are doing, and hopefully by first quarter, second quarter of this year, Nigerians will start seeing the effect of all these things that they are doing.
So when we come to primary TSL, what has been the little challenges that you have faced during this time span, and also your plans to improve on your service deliveries so far?
Our challenges have always been the same, and the number one is the increase in diesel price. It's gone from the last time we met, I think it was about 300 or something per liter. It's gone to over 1,000 naira per liter. And the bus price has not changed. And also the naira losing its value. Everything we use on the buses have all gone up in prices. So our challenges have always been the same from inception to now. Because, it's exactly the same, the increase in the fuel prices, and also the lack of and the naira losing its value. So those have been our two major challenges. And we are still hoping that Lagos State or the federal government will come to our aid and give us some sort of succor. But we'll keep on talking to them and we'll see what happens.
Okay, fair, and very well. With what you have said, I just want to take you back a little to the New Year address given by Mr. President. He was trying to, in a part of what he said, he presented his address in the notion that he feels the pains of Nigerians. But if you look at the reaction so far, it almost looks as if Nigerians are not really trying to give the administration a chance to really perform and be effective. If you are in a position to advise Nigeria as regards what this very present administration is trying to do, what will you say to them?
Look, I understand the frustration of the average Nigerian out there. I understand that the last few years has been very, very tough. But we didn't get to where we are overnight. And we will not get out of it overnight. This administration is 6 months in power. So we have to give them time to, act out their policies and everything, and then we'll see where we are. But jumping on this administration's back or something, it's not it's the easy way out, but it's not necessarily the solution. Look, I'm not against criticism, and every government or every organization needs people to criticize it, because by criticizing you know what you're doing wrong and all. So criticism is fine, but it has to be constructive criticism. It cannot just be criticism just for criticism's sake. And this administration needs time. 6 months, it's not a long time, and everything they are putting in place will take a little bit of time to yield fruition. So my advice to Nigerians is just to be a little bit more patient. We didn't get to where we are overnight. I will not come out of it overnight. And it may take some pain or painful medicine, but the painful medicines to cure problems, and God willing, the problems will be solved by this administration.
On international scope, if you are given the opportunity to really shape in the transportation sector, what do you think you can put in place to ensure the transport business, the transport industry is up to shape, to standard in Nigeria?
That's a loaded question, and I have to be careful in answering it because it's a public forum. The first thing I would do is to look at the business side of the transportation. See, it's easier to procure buses. It's easier to procure trains. It's easier to procure boats. It's easier to procure planes. But it all has to be tied together, and the business model has to make sense. Until the business side of it is taken care of, that it becomes profitable, and even if it's not profitable, it makes business sense. People will not invest. And I've said it before, the government, both federal and state and local government, cannot by themselves solve the transportation issues in Nigeria. We need the private sector to invest heavily, and it's a sector that requires a lot of investment. Like I said the other time, if you just want to buy 10 buses, you're looking, by the time, from procurement to now, you're looking at least $1 million, just 10. And 10 buses, it's nothing. And the same thing goes for boats, the same thing goes for planes, train especially. So it's a capital intensive sector, and if you want the private sector to pour money in, the business side of it has to make sense. They have to see a modicum of profit, so that way it's exciting to them. Look, I'm not in government, and I don't work for government, and I try as much as possible not to speak for government. I can only speak for myself and Primero. And yes, I can prefer advice because I have the right like every other Nigerian, but I have to be very careful of how I prefer solutions. But it's very, very important that both the federal and the state government and even the local government look at the business side, look at the day-to-day side, and we need to ask ourselves questions, especially in Lagos State. Why did LSTC failed in the 70s? Why did LMTS fail? Why did the first BRT fail? You see, these are critical questions that we need to ask. And the answers to those questions will determine what to do. And we should not keep on repeating the same thing that we've been doing since the 70s and not ask ourselves what went wrong and how do we mitigate it? How do we ensure it doesn't happen again? So it requires a lot of critical thinking and a lot of soul searching. But there are lots of very smart people in both the federal and the state government that are even smarter than I am. And I hope, they're asking these kind of questions.
For the private sector, sir, when it comes to that synergy you were talking about earlier, do you really think the government is creating that equilibrium platform for them to come in and invest? Or in any way you feel, what would be your advice, generally, both to the private and the public?
Put it this way, they're trying, but they need to try more. And they need to encourage. Look, private sectors, they are in need to make money. And it has to make business sense before they invest. Okay? I was happy when I read that the federal government is trying to find ways to reduce the requirements to set up businesses and all that kind of stuff and streamline it to make it easier for people to invest and all, which is the way to go. The government, I don't care how much they do not have enough resources to do all of these things by themselves. They need the private sector both at home and abroad. And if they're going to do it, you have to make it easier for them to invest, and you have to create an environment that they can make profit. If there's no way for them to make profit, then they're going to get out of the business, or they will not invest. Look at interstate. Interstate is not regulated, and it's flourishing. Interstate from Lagos State to Abuja to Owerri to wherever, it's not regulated. Because it's not regulated, they decide what they want to charge. They decide, and everything, and it's been flourishing, and it's still doing very well. But intrastate is heavily regulated. And I keep saying it. You don't keep pricing low because you want to make it affordable and allow the market to dictate the cost of operations. The cost of operations keeps galloping while the pricing it's low, and nobody is bridging that gap. And if you don't bridge that gap, eventually, the private companies will get out of business, will go out of business. All over the world, yes, public transport needs the affordability element in it, because without the affordability element in it, then it's no longer public transport. Then it becomes, only for the elite. So the affordability, it's sine qua non. But you don't do the affordability on the back of a private company. That's a social responsibility of both federal, state, and local government, not a private company. The question is why is interstate flourishing and intrastate, not flourishing? This is not rocket science. We need to, tell ourselves some truths and face it. The same reason why LMTS, LSTC, and all of them went under is still the same problem that we're facing today. And Like somebody said, the classic definition of madness is to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. The government needs to sit, the private operators need to sit, and the commuters need to sit, and we come up with a solution that works for everybody. But you don't put your social policy on the back of a private company. It does not, it will not work. And we need to face the fact that the present model that we have right now is obviously faulty and it's not working. And there are so many things we can do to make it better. But the political will has to be there to make it better.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Very well said. Okay, before we bring this session to an end, before we organized our award last year, and when we get to that point, we normally go through the archive, and we went through some of the reporting we've done on you, and we actually canvassed to see different areas you have touched, and that actually dawned on me to ask you this question. Don't you think it would be actually good for you somewhere along the lines to really write a book about the future of transportation in Nigeria?
Who knows? That's for tomorrow.
Yes.
Oh, that's for tomorrow.
You said a lot. Technology, you said a lot. The business, you said a lot.
Well, I've been doing this now going to 8 years, so I guess I have a little experience. And while one will not blow one's own trumpet, I believe I have a little knowledge in, especially the intrastate part of it. But writing a book, time will tell. Time will tell. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. That's in God's hands.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We want to always appreciate your reception, giving us every opportunity to come and interview you. 2024 is just the beginning. We pray that, just like you said in the beginning, that everything fares well for all Nigerians. Okay, let's say you want to advise this administration in terms of 2024. Your advice to this present administration.
My advice to this present administration is to follow through their policies and make sure, they've already outlined what they want to do. Just follow through. Let's implement it, and let's keep our fingers crossed that everything will work out well. Because most of what they've outlined are, like I've said in numerous interviews, I really like and I really support. So now the issue is implementation. Look, ideas are great on paper, but implementation is the key. So let us go implement all these policies and let us change the fortune of Nigeria and Nigerians, turn it around and make Nigeria better for everybody.
AI, sorry, sir. Like last year, you saw what AI actually started beginning to do to the system. Do you think that will really have any kind of leverage on transport in the near future?
Of course. Technology changes everything. Technology changes everything. I'll give you an example. Look at Bolt and Uber.
Yes.
Before then, you have to walk down to the road to look for a taxi or something like that. But now, technology has made it easier. They come to your house to pick you up. And also, technology democratizes everything. It makes things, it makes things even and easy for people. So, technology, I keep saying, that Primero is actually a technology company that runs the buses, not a bus company that uses technology. So, you can't run away from technology. Technology drives everything. And if you run away from technology, you will go out of business.